Ben Affleck has one of the most intriguing stories in Hollywood, as he's one of the most successful actors who's also had his own hardships that he's had to overcome. If you saw the film The Way Back, you might find it ironic that a lot of what Affleck's character goes through in the film is very similar to who he is in real life. Affleck has gone through a lot throughout his life, including alcohol addiction and depression. It's pretty sad, considering how great of an actor he's become. That shouldn't describe who he is, as he's had a lot of success throughout his many movie roles. Here are 10 things you probably didn't know about Ben Affleck. History of alcoholism and mental illness in his family. Affleck has been opening up all over the place of late about his struggles with sobriety. He has revealed a history of addiction and mental issues across his family. "My dad didn't really get sober until I was 19, he revealed to MSN.com. "The older I've gotten, the more I recognize that my dad did the best he could. There's a lot of alcoholism and mental illness in my family. His grandmother committed suicide when she was in her 40s, an uncle shot himself, and an aunt died of a drug overdose. A heavy legacy to have to deal with, to battle." He packed on the pounds for his role in The Way Back. His character in the movie The Way Back is Jack Cunningham, an alcoholic basketball coach who drinks a case of beer a day. That meant that the normally lean Affleck had to gain weight, a lot of it. At the end of the day, he weighed 245 pounds. He was not drinking at the time. He has said, "It was about just eating as much junk and food and carbs. And I am a carb guy, like pizzas, breads." He was on Voyage of the Mimi. Fans and audiences first started taking notice of Ben Affleck when he starred in roles such as Dazed and Confused's brutal bully O'Banion and in Kevin Smith's cult classic Chasing Amy, but the actor began with much more humble roles and appearances. Wanting to act from the time he was a boy, Affleck's first role was in a Burger King commercial. Not quite his ticket to immediate fame, he went on to star in the PBS series Voyage of the Mimi before growing up a bit and landing a role as an extra with best bud Matt Damon as extras in 1989's Field of Dreams, which starred Kevin Costner as a baseball diamond-building farmer. Another not-so-memorable appearance came for the young actor the next year in 1990 when he was spotted in a prop photo used in Mermaids starring Cher and Winona Ryder. He was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The show is an all-time classic, but how many people have seen or remember the film Buffy the Vampire Slayer? It was a solid success at the time of its release, though the show's legacy has since overshadowed it to the point where few recall how Affleck had a minuscule uncredited role as a basketball player 3 years prior to Mallrats and even before Dazed and Confused. Despite his young age, the actor is immediately recognizable. Banking on best friends. Most fans are aware that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are best friends and have been since they were kids. But did you know that they even once shared a bank account? When the two young actors were just starting out and often traveling into the city for auditions in the hopes of landing their big break, Ben and Matt set up and shared a bank account to stash the money they made to pay for their travels. It certainly paid off when they finally both landed an on-screen job together in a TJ Maxx commercial. Soon after, they both nabbed roles in the 1992 movie School Ties, and it was just a hop, skip, and a jump, plus a heck of a lot of good luck and talent, and the two sold their script for Good Will Hunting for $600,000. One can only assume by that time they were opening their own bank accounts, ready for the money to roll in. His father inspired a key part of Good Will Hunting. His father, Timothy Affleck, held a number of jobs while Ben was growing up. He was an actor and stage manager for the Theatre Company of Boston in the 1960s and worked with famous names including Dustin Hoffman, Robert Duvall, Blythe Danner, Jon Voight, and James Woods. It's obvious where Affleck might have first picked up the acting bug. But his father wasn't always an actor, and while Ben was a kid, his dad worked as a mechanic, a carpenter, an electrician, a bartender, and even a bookie. Although he describes his father as a very smart guy, battles with alcoholism were an issue for Timothy, and when his sons were teenagers, he successfully completed a rehab program and eventually became an addictions counselor himself. But it was another of Timothy's jobs that would end up being a significant part in one of Ben's biggest successes. For a period of time, Affleck's father worked as a janitor at Harvard. This was the inspiration for the main character's job at MIT in Ben's Oscar-winning, career-making film Good Will Hunting. College dropout success story. Although his teachers described Affleck as smart and extremely bright, school just wasn't for him. His major issue was merely keeping focused, which isn't surprising considering some of the action-packed roles he's now known to take on. He did, however, attempt higher education and attended both the University of Vermont and Occidental College, where he studied Middle Eastern studies, but only lasted 1 semester at Vermont and 1 year at Occidental College. Luckily for him, a successful acting career was waiting for him just ahead. 3 superheroes in 1. Affleck jumped into his first superhero suit back in 2003 when he tackled the role of Matt Murdock's Daredevil. Starring alongside his future wife, and now ex-wife, Jennifer Garner, who played Elektra, the movie wasn't exactly a success. Moving along to 2006's Hollywoodland, Affleck played actor George Reeves, who was the star of the 1950s television show Adventures of Superman. In a role that explored a fictionalized version of the events surrounding the death of the real-life man who died in what was deemed a suicide, but many believed it was in fact murder or an accidental shooting, Affleck appeared as the Man of Steel himself. Not quite finished with the superhero genre yet, Affleck was cast as Batman in 2016's Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which will also feature Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Jesse Eisenberg, Diane Lane, Lawrence Fishburne, Jeremy Irons, Holly Hunter, and Gal Gadot. This makes Ben Affleck the first actor who has played both Batman and Superman in separate movies, not to mention the trifecta with Daredevil thrown in for good measure. Daredevil is his favorite comic. He may be putting on the cowl in the Batman v Superman, but Batman is not his favorite comic book hero. His favorite is Daredevil, you know, from that terrible movie he starred in back in 2004. When first approached to play the Man Without Fear, Affleck was a bit hesitant, but that didn't last long. He agreed to play the role, saying that he didn't want someone else to do it because I was afraid that they would go out and do it different from the comic and screw it up. He was the oldest actor to ever be cast as Batman. It's pretty amazing that the oldest actor to ever be cast as Batman was Ben Affleck when he was 40 years old. To most people, that's still really young. However, DC always appeared to be looking for a younger actor to play the legendary superhero.